This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in. Get to see my good buddy Pierre Noujaim, who I've not seen in weeks on Zoom. Weeks. Literal weeks. And I've missed you terribly, Pierre. I trust your holiday break was good. I mean, I don't know. You went to New York, right?
I went to New York in the middle of December. Yes, just to clown around for a few days. Terrific. What a city. But actually, believe it or not, I was home in Sacramento, California for Christmas for the first time in 6 years. So it was very nice and relaxing and enjoyable.
So, okay, New York. Did you take the girlfriend? What did you do?
I did. Took the girlfriend. We went and saw, we had plans for one Broadway show, The Lion King, but that actually turned into two Broadway shows by the end of the week. So second one was Book of Mormon, which I've now seen twice. Phenomenal show. I can't recommend it enough.
I know it backwards and forwards.
It's incredible.
And forwards. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
It's so good. And I remember when we bought the ticket, I said, trust me. She was like, oh, okay. She gave me like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You know, when they lie, they're like, oh yeah, no, this will be good or whatever. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, she is not looking forward to the show at all. By the end of the show, she was in stitches.
Yeah.
So,
yes. You know what? I went to see it. This is gonna blow your mind. I went to see it with my mother and her friends.
No kidding.
And my aunt and uncle, who are all in their 70s.
Right.
So I went to see it with them a few years ago, and you know, I kind of told them, I'm like, look, I don't know how this is gonna go. Like I don't know how you're gonna react to it. And
it's Matt and Trey, you know, the whole South Park humor. Yeah.
The first 10 minutes is fine.
Right.
Like the first 10 minutes is like, okay, well, this is funny. And you know, it's very comical. And you don't really hit the hardcore South Park humor until about minute 12, 13, 14. And when they get to that part of it, I was like, oh dear. This is going to be bad. They're going to leave. And they were all dying laughing.
Oh, it's
dying.
If for all of you watching at home or listening, like if you have not seen the Book of Mormon, we cannot recommend it enough. Actually, the first time I saw it was out in Austin when they were touring. Yeah. So yeah, it's a phenomenal show.
I saw it in Fort Worth, actually. Yeah.
No, did you?
Yeah, I saw it in Fort Worth.
It's spectacular. You cannot recommend it enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then you got to go back to Sacramento, which is great. So, yeah I'm sure your family was thrilled to see you back at home.
It was a good time. Christmas was good. I trust yours was good as well.
I was in Nashville. I went to Nashville. It was great. I had a great time with my wife's family. We had a blast. We actually we came back here and had Christmas with my mom on Tuesday. So, but yeah, it was great. Nashville is an awesome city. I love Nashville. I do envision us moving there someday. I mean, just to say it, you know, but because it's great and her family's there and that's kind of what you do. But
did you take in a Predators game?
We watched two of them on television.
You did? Okay, very good.
So my mother-in-law is a huge Predators fan. Fan. And both the games we watched, they lost in rather like dramatic and terrible fashion.
Brutal.
They lost. Brutal. The Stars beat them. Garrett will love this because he's a huge Stars fan. Oh, yeah. But he knows that he liked this. He didn't get to watch that day.
No, I missed it.
He missed it. I texted him. I'm like, dude, you watching the Stars right now? And he's like, no. Is it over? I was like, yeah, it is. And they were down 3-2 with 25 seconds left and won 4-3 in regulation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They got
in regulation?
In regulation.
Wow.
Yeah. Scored a goal with 25 seconds, scored another one with like 8 seconds left. And, you know, it was just like boom. You know, like the minute the puck dropped, like the Preds were not ready for it. It was wild. It was wild. And then they had another one. God, I can't remember who they played a few days later. That did not end. They lost in overtime. You know, when they picked the wrong three guys to be out on the ice, I guess. And
it
was fast. Like, it's one of those things. The regular season, that's what I love about the NHL. The regular season overtime and the postseason overtime are two different things.
Yep.
Yeah, two totally different things. Correct. And so there's a strategy to it that like football, I know the postseason overtime rules and the regular season overtime rules are different, but the strategy is the same. Just go score a touchdown first. But
Right.
and look, the goal, get a goal first in the NHL, but the whole thing of okay, well, what? I'm not putting 5 guys out there. I'm putting 3. And because we're trying to get this over with, because we got 82 games before we even get to the playoffs, which feels like another 82, because they all go 7 games. But that part of the coaching, because hockey coaching is very much not you can't really in the moment do things. You just kind of have to.
Not a lot.
Yeah, there's not a lot you can do. You have to do, your strategy all happens when no one is skating. And then you have to tell them, do this. And then the minute that they start, it's not like you'd be like, I mean,
you get two intermissions to kind of coach up your team, and you get 1 timeout for the whole game, which is probably not used, if at all, till the very last 2 minutes of the game if you're down a goal.
Yeah.
So that's there's not a lot of opportunities in moment to coach your team.
You'll never see a hockey coach running around the bench like a basketball coach, because it would be totally pointless. And if he did, then he'd be like, listen, coach, we're going to take you just to see some people that are going to help.
Correct.
Because you do know that he's all the way down there. It's very loud. All you can hear is sticks and ice and skates. He really wants to fight this guy, so he's not paying attention to you.
I'm a sucker for that sport, man.
Yeah,
it is.
So it's
phenomenal.
It's great. Yeah, it is. It is such an interesting game in the fact that every other sport, for the most part, there's coaching during the thing, but hockey coaches just kind of sit there with their arms crossed and hope it goes well.
Right.
And then says, okay, you guys go in when these guys come out. And that's all he can do, really. And then when somebody sits down, he can go hey, the next time this happens, do this. Okay, see you later.
It is the only sport, too, that I can recall where I see 2 head coaches. It doesn't happen often, but I see if there's a kerfuffle on the ice or if something happens, sometimes you'll see the 2 head coaches in between the benches start yelling at each other and pointing the finger and just I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. Anyway, but yeah, did you get anything good for Christmas, Pierre?
I have a brand new pair of noise canceling earphones that are just top notch.
I got some of those too. I got some AirPods Max. They're great.
It's funny because it's the type of gift where I wouldn't give to myself. It's I would want it and that'd be great, but I could never just say, I'm going to treat myself today. I don't treat myself, Paul. That's not really my style.
Mm-hmm.
I have to slum through all of the difficulties in life to build my character, as my father would say. So yeah, noise canceling headphones, really good gift. Really good gift.
Yeah. Yeah, they were great. I wore them on the plane because I had to watch the Cowboys and Lions on the plane on the way back.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't. I said this on the show yesterday. FSU played right before then. I mean, I say played.
Right.
Their half boycott of the Orange Bowl that happened.
Yeah. Half boycott was executed to perfection.
It was. Look, here's the deal. If you're one of those people that said, I hope they boycott this game, they figured out the way to do it and still get paid.
Yes.
They absolutely did. So
Correct.
However you feel about that, you can either respect the craftiness or you can be mad at the way that the bowls work.
Now, did you watch the entire Cowboy game on the plane, or was that one of the situations where you touched down in the third quarter and the race over? How did that all play out? Because I would love to know what the reaction was from Paul on the plane if you're watching this in real time.
First 2 quarters on the plane, landed at halftime, got my bag. We have a friend who has an airport shuttle company. He was picking us up because Waco does not have an airport that's easy to fly in and out of. So we were in Austin. We flew back into Austin. A lot of Austin to Nashville round trips now because of the music people. So we got on. So we get in the car, and I'd only missed the first 2.5. Let's say bags came out fast, so I'd only missed the first 2.5 minutes of the third quarter.
Okay.
So I got in the car, pulled it up on the phone, and and watched it all the way back to Waco. And so, yeah, it was.
What a drive that must have been.
It ended about 15 minutes before I got back to the house. So as I was kind of getting in, and Richard, our driver friend, he huge Cowboy fan for like 100 years. So we went through all the emotions together. But had I had to deal, like last year, I had to watch the second half of the Cheez-It Bowl that Florida State played Oklahoma on the plane, and then the Cowboys versus the Titans. Although the Cowboys won that game, it was really sloppy, but they won the game. But it was the same scenario, flying back with the Florida State and the Cowboys back to back. Now, the first part of the watching that last year on the plane, the Florida State game, I mean, Amanda had to be like, "Listen, you've got to keep it together." And I was like, I know. And like things would happen, I'd be like.
The last thing I would want for you, all of a sudden over the loudspeaker of the plane, do we have a doctor on board?
Yeah.
Like, that's the last thing you want to hear when you're in the air.
I thought it would be more like the Wolf of Wall Street, where they're going to Switzerland, and he like wakes up and he's strapped to the chair, and they're like, the pilot had to strap you to the chair.
Yeah, just no recollection of it whatsoever. Incredible scene.
That's more what I would be worried about doing that. Like, just what? Yeah,
I could see it happening.
Yeah.
I could see it happening.
Yeah, that's what I think I'd have been more worried about. Especially since FSU was so much better than Oklahoma last year, and Oklahoma played a great game in the Cheez-It Bowl.
Best game of the year. Game of the year for the Sooners.
It was the best game of the year for them, and I'm just saying, like, are they really gonna like get to this point where they could get their 10th win and not do it? And I'm here on this plane and can't yell about it, like,
right?
So
you know what's funny? One of my favorite memories watching a sporting event on the plane happened last summer when I was going down to Vegas, and you could tell I just happened to poke my head up. I was like in the middle of the plane. I poked my head up, and I see about 80% of the TVs watching France and Argentina in the World Cup final.
Oh, yeah.
And that, what a game that turned out to be. It was 3-3 going into penalty, and then every reaction, like everybody's reaction was the same. Like it felt like a whole unified experience. That was really cool. That's something I'll remember for sure.
I would have loved if there's just like one French guy on the plane who's like, "Month 2."
Oh man. Yeah. Oh
just furious.
100%. 100%. Yeah, that was quite, I'm not gonna lie. I woke up, or I was watching it, and I fell asleep a little bit when it was 2-0, and I woke back up and it was 2-2. And I said, "Wait, what happened? Like I was out for 15 minutes. What happened?"
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty
absolutely.
sweet.
All right, Pierre. So we've got Michigan and Washington. You've seen Michigan this year in person, I believe, and they are like, you saw them. I think you saw them the last week that they had any kind of Connor Stallions information.
Yeah, that sounds about right. The timing of that is about right.
Yeah. It was about right, because it worked out well for this show in that here you are coming on and they're like, "Hey, so this has happened."
Yeah,
but that was like one of the last weeks that they had any kind of Connor Stallions information, and they were, look, honestly, however you feel about the Connor Stallions situation, their offense was two different offenses pre and post that time, and part of that is obviously they didn't have the same kind of information that they did before. And everyone they were playing knew that if they did have any previous information, that now if you're, Penn State and Maryland and Ohio State and Iowa, that you're going to have to change everything up, right? So you can't do anything how you were doing the same way. So they had to adapt to that little factoid that came out about them. And they're an offense that's not trying to score 40 points. Like when they do score 40 points, it's more an indictment on your defense than it is, their offense being prolific. But they're efficient, and their defense is physical and punishing. And that's what they did to Alabama, which is something Alabama used to do to everybody else. And to me, that puts them in a spot where they can pretty much beat anybody, because if your defense can beat people up like that and make them worried about running the ball like they did with Alabama, then you can win any game. But now you're playing against one of the two best quarterbacks in the country, the Heisman Trophy runner-up, the Biletnikoff runner-up, and several other receivers that, if they were the number one receiver, might also have been in that conversation because they're all that good. So this is two totally different styles clashing in a game. And I really have no beat on who I think is going to be better in this.
I kind of feel the same way. One thing I would say for sure is it feels like all season long, and especially from my perspective, I feel like Washington has gotten the treatment of like, oh yeah, that's cute. You're doing really well. The nice little pat on the head. I picked Oregon to beat them twice. I didn't necessarily I didn't pick Texas to beat them necessarily. I was just like, I was much more interested in that game than I was in Alabama and Michigan. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, we got two great games out of it, but I keep thinking to myself, I'm not going to pick against Washington again. Am I? Can I? Should I? Yeah. I don't know how I can really get myself to do it. However, I don't know if we've seen, not if we've seen, but This Michigan defense is a defense that, has been about as dominant as we've seen over the last decade or so. It's got guys everywhere on the field. So do I really think that Washington is going to hang 30 on Michigan? It's tough for me to see it, and yet I still find myself lying awake at night, having a hard time sleeping, saying, I can't pick against Washington again. Can I?
Yeah, Here's what Washington has that nobody that plays them has. And even with great chemistry between quarterback and receiver, I have not seen it to this level since Danny Werfel and his receivers, where he was so locked in. It's been a long time. And there are other great ones, plenty of great Heisman Trophy quarterbacks and people like that have come and gone, No, I will say this. It is in a very different style of quarterbacking. It's very much like Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans when Johnny won the Heisman, when A&M was kind of playing fast and loose and all that stuff. It was just like the play Cliff Kingsbury called was like, Johnny and Mike, figure it out. Like, nobody can put their hands on you, Johnny, and nobody can cover you, Mike, so figure it out. If you watch the Cotton Bowl that they played against Oklahoma that year that Johnny won the Heisman, those two absolutely picked him apart. And I've told the story a million times because it's really hilarious. And you've covered Bob Stoops when you were down here. One of the best things about Bob Stoops in post games when they lose is he's this really quiet kind of angry and indignant because a lot of the Oklahoma media has grown up with Oklahoma being so dominant. They don't understand why they lose. And I say the Homer media, there's a lot of super brilliant people that know exactly why, but there's this group of people he knows he's going to hear from, and he's just waiting to have to be polite about their stupid question. So he's got this quiet rage. So it's this little group of three guys. He knows he's going to hear a stupid question about how could A&M beat us? One of those kind of things. Then he's going to be like, it was after Baylor beat them with RG3, right? He was
yes,
all those. But this one, after that game, he was just defeated, and he was like, "What? Well, what are you gonna do? You got the guy dead to rights. You think he's tackled? He squirms out like a willow worm and throws it up to a guy who's 7.5 feet tall. I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't coach. You can't coach against that. What are you gonna do? So, it was." Michael Penix and Rome Odunze are like that to me in a different style because Michael Penix is not really rolling around and drawing it up in the dirt. It's just when they need something to happen, it's basically Penix and Odunze going, you got it? You got it? All right. We're you go, I'll throw. And then it's the one throw the other night was so perfect. And the catch was, it's going to be on every coach should be like, hey, when I'm teaching you how to do this, this is what I want you to do exactly this way. And it was amazing.
Yeah, no, it was. And the funny thing about this matchup to me is it features the two quarterbacks that in my mind and in my opinion, I have probably the two biggest question marks when I'm talking about them at the pro level. Now, Penix looks like he has really, really progressed from the beginning of the season to now. And he looks, especially in that fourth quarter, some of the back shoulder throws and sideline throws that he was making, that made me raise some eyebrows. Like, oh, those are the throws that you have to make in the pro level that are really going to make you stand out. JJ McCarthy, I have my own questions about whether or not he can succeed at the pro level. I really have a lot of questions surrounding about that. But we're not at the pros yet, and that's what makes college football so much fun. Is it's not as much about the quarterbacks at the collegiate level as it is about the entire team. And that's why I think this is going to make for a really fun matchup because, I'm just hoping that we don't see a blowout like we saw last year. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I really don't. But how can you, the one thing that Michigan showed me in the beginning of the game, remember, they got off to a slow start in that game. Mm-hmm. It looked like it could turn pretty fast for them in that game, but they hung tough and they really didn't bat an eyelash at all. And then especially down 7 late in the game, tie the game, send it to overtime. They never wavered. It looked like it could be, they were on rocky ground for a few moments in that game, but they never wavered. And that told me a lot about them. Not that we didn't already know who Michigan was by the time we got to that game, but that told me a lot about that by the end of the game.
Well, look, teams take on the personality of their coaches, right? And I think as much as I don't like the whole indignant kind of vibe that Jim Harbaugh has, they have certainly taken on the us versus the world thing very well. And sometimes that's fool's gold, right? I watched Art Briles for years kind of invent things and it worked, but like sometimes it's fool's gold. And sometimes you can have that and like us against the world when you realize like, well, it's not really, but like really this year it's legitimate because most of the college football world, however you feel about it, would probably rather not see Michigan win just because of all this. Like in the varying degrees of how you don't like it, like, well, you don't want to see them win the national title when clearly in the first 7 or 8 games of the year, they had all this information that they were using and it was different. Like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. Like, that's just, and also knowing that the NCAA might get, vacate the wins. And then you've got this whole thing, which is pointless. Vacating wins is the worst punishment ever because if you were, if you're on the receiving end of those losses, like all those vacated stats from Reggie Bush, like there's, hundreds of defenders that remember like, no, I remember he ran right by my ass. Like, yeah, no, I remember that. Vacate nothing. He vacated me out of my cleats is what he did, And so I think it'll be, but I think he's done a good job of passing that on to his team in the most productive way possible of like, look, there's not a lot of people who are rooting for you in this. Right. Like there's a lot of people that are mad at me. And if they're mad at me, they're mad at us. And we're just going to keep going forward. And then, I don't know, did you see the clip? Did you ever see the clip of Jim Harbaugh's parents after the game?
I don't think I did.
Oh my gosh. So they are annoyingly adorable. They have this like, when we were growing up, we had a saying that was like, who has it better than us? Nobody. Yeah. All that. And then they like switch seats because of superstition. And so they were a very cute grandpa thing. And I do think that Jim Harbaugh brings some of that energy to Michigan, and they've not been fazed by anything that's happened to them. Right. Anything at all, which also is the case for Washington, because if you watch how Washington plays every week, they should be totally fazed. They just take so many risks, and then they just pay off. They're just...
The thing that bothers me the most about it, and I'm sure you agree, and I'm reaching deep in the catacombs of my brain for this Seinfeld reference right now, so it's not going to come out right. But I know there's an episode where Elaine is upset because something is happening, but she's at fault, but she's upset at the circumstances. Knowingly, she's at fault. And Jerry's like, but that's you. Like, you're the one that created this. You're the problem. And that's how I feel about this with Jim Harbaugh when he's going on this crusade about it's us against the world. But you created this problem. This is your fault, not somebody on the outside saying something bad about your program or having some kind of chip on their shoulder about your program. You made this mess. We're all mad at you because of your actions.
This is Susie and Elaine.
That's it. That's what it is.
Susie Lane. But you're Susie.
Right.
But she doesn't know that.
No, she doesn't know that. But that's I feel like I'm Jerry when I'm looking at Jim Harbaugh. But that's you. That's you. This is your fault.
Yeah.
Like so don't get mad at me for saying you guys are a bunch of cheaters and you shouldn't have the national championship because you cheated and you hit it pretty poorly. What are you getting mad at me for?
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out the facts.
Wow. What do you think about Connor Stallions going to the game? I think that's grade A stalker behavior. Like,
yes.
Yeah. You know, like resigning in disgrace doesn't get you, like, doesn't dissuade you from going and supporting the team. Like, that is something else.
Diabolical.
Yeah. No, if it was like Christina Aguilera he was in love with and not Michigan football,
right,
she would have like 1,000-foot restraining order.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, against Connor Stallions. But Jim Harbaugh invited him in and used his talents for what they needed. And then now, like, make sure, like, it would not shock me if he did not pay for his way out there.
Oh, 100%.
There's somebody, look, and plus there's somebody out there that was funding his little adventure that I'm sure would have done it. I don't. This is why, to be honest with you, I only want to see Washington win the game because I just think it's funny that the Pac-12 will be no more. Yeah. After next week, the Pac-12 will be no more, and Washington just won the national championship. That's the part of the story that is fun for me. I want to see that. I think it'll be great that there'll be some people like George Kleofko that see how great the league was. Yeah, it was, George, and you helped wreck it. You absolutely
100%.
You to like. You didn't even try to turn the Titanic away from the iceberg. At least they tried to get away from it, and it got them from underneath. Like people were yelling iceberg, and you were like, we'll go through it. We'll be through it.
Fine.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. No, just took the ship straight into the iceberg and without even trying to get away from it. And then you're going to, and then one of your teams wins the title. And
what theater that would be.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. That would be great. And look, I would say it'll be hilarious to me because and I hate it for the schools like Oregon State and Washington State who are out in the cold, but just the way that they were like so hoity-toity and snooty about it the whole time, which was like, no, the Pac-12 is forever,
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. And so is Ric Flair.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not going to. By the way, you mentioned Ric Flair. The prodigal heel says, I think I lost interest in the Bulls this year, $5 super chat, after the controversy. Has anyone seen the Iron Claw movie? Have you seen the Iron Claw yet?
And I have not yet. It is absolutely on my to-do list. I hope, actually, I should have done that like this week. Maybe if I can get to it this weekend, I'm going to do it.
Okay. Well, let me know.
I have to. Oh, no, I have to go see that on the big screen.
Yeah, I'll have to see it. It's not something that Amanda would like. We're going to see The Boys in the Boat tomorrow, which I'm very excited about.
The Boys in the Boat.
It's a George Clooney. It's like a.
Oh yes. Okay, yeah. You know what you should do? You should see the Iron Claw instead.
Yeah, I don't know if I could sell her on that.
Oh well, okay, fair enough.
I can be like, listen, it's a shirtless, muscle-up Zac Efron.
Hey, wrestling's only part of it. There's a bigger story beyond just the wrestling.
Well, but it's going to be very sad.
Yes, it is. Has she ever seen the wrestler? Mickey Rourke.
I don't think so. No.
That's a good one.
And that's also really very sad.
Very sad. It's a tough movie to get through, but it's good. It's very good.
We have such different takes in movies. Like it's so a couple years ago when Bullet Train came out.
Yes.
It's just awesome, movie. Right? It's fun.
Yeah, great movie. That's awesome. Great movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she thought like, Sandra Bullock's in this. I'll go see it. Well, she's only her voice, and then at the end, I'll go see it with you. And from the minute it started, she hated it.
Yeah.
She hated it. Yeah, it just wasn't her kind of movie. It did also help that there were two girls behind us who only went to see the movie because Bad Bunny was in it.
Oh, and Bad Bunny is terrific.
Yeah, but he's only in it for 10 minutes, and then he's dead. Correct. And then they're mad too because they're like, wait a minute, I heard Bad Bunny was in this. We're like, well, he is. Like, he's not the main character.
I have ever since I saw Bad Bunny wrestle at I think it was at WrestleMania a couple years ago. I am fully on board with Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
Anything he does, he's a huge wrestling fan. He's great in his movies. Like his music is cat. I'm all in with Bad Bunny.
Yeah, he was great. He was great on SNL this year.
Yes,
he was
terrific.
Yeah, he was great.
I'm all in.
But yeah, the next week we went to go see the 35th year anniversary of the Dirty Dancing, and she got me back. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You guys yin and yang each other very well.
Yeah, that was, and look, I've seen Dirty Dancing. It's
right. Yeah.
It's okay. I'd seen it before. It's just, like as a man, like I'm not one who's like, what's my guilty pleasure movie? It's not Dirty Dancing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yours would be more Roadhouse.
Yes.
Than Dirty.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said, listen, if we have the anniversary of Roadhouse, you got to come and see it. Sometimes, I'll tell you this, just to annoy her, sometimes if I see it's on cable and she's not in the room, I'll put it on and leave. And then she'll come and go, what is this stupid thing? And I'm like, it's the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah. First of all, how dare you? Second of all, have a seat.
Listen, he's a bouncer who went to Princeton. It's wild, man. There's plot points in this movie that make no sense, but it's wild.
I want to get a correction. She sat through the entire movie of Bullet Train and she still didn't like it?
No, I didn't like it.
Oh, come on, man. Like, Bullet Train's fun. That's just a fun movie. Fun.
We don't have action movies like that anymore.
No. Yeah. No, it's like one of the ones where you just sit there and I watched Gran Turismo on the plane the other day. Just mindless fun. And race cars are moving fast. I was like, just fun.
Yeah.
Let's have a good time here.
Look, there's no happy ending or anything like that. Really, I mean, it is.
No.
But it's just, it's a big shoot 'em up. Anyway, when we come back, we've got some portal news to talk about. I'm curious on some of your thoughts about some of the portal quarterbacks that have moved spots. We haven't talked in 3 weeks, really, honestly, Pierre, because you were out and then we were gone, and then so it's been a while since you and I have.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, we had a. By the way, have you heard the news about our friend Nikki Lorenzo?
I have. Yes, I have indeed. And
so I'll have to
congrats to her.
We'll have to clip this and say congratulations to Nikki. She's engaged. I sent her a text yesterday. And so, but congrats to Nikki. She's engaged. That means you're the last one of our little three amigos. So
I am the last one. I am the last one in my college friends group as well. So a lot of pressure on me now.
Believe me, so was I. And I believe probably so was Nikki. So that's why we were friends.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
Exactly right.
All right. When we come back, we'll talk transfer portal. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
So, I know that this is not big transfer portal news around the country, but at least in your neck of the woods, the Caliac boys have moved from Minneapolis to Piscataway, New Jersey.
Correct.
How much of a shock was that to the Gopher Nation?
It was a. I don't know if I want to use the word shock, because I guess nothing should shock us anymore at this point, Paul. But it was a shock to me. Yeah. It was everything that they had. Kind of they talked up this young man, 2 years ago. when he came in for an injured Tanner Morgan. And, he had some pretty good games. Had a tough game at Penn State, but, he was young, and that's a tough place to make. I believe that was his first start. Might have been his second start at Penn State in Happy Valley. It's a tough spot to do it, but the way that they were just talking him up in the offseason and the way that they opened the season against Nebraska, throwing the ball all over the place, and then to immediately just go right back to the game plan of being a run first team like they were when Tanner Morgan and Mo Ibrahim was the quarterback and running back. That was a little bit of a surprise to me because all I kept hearing was this guy's got a cannon of an arm. He can really put it down the field, which he could. But about 4 or 5 games into the season, I turned over to a colleague of mine. I said, can this guy read a defense? I'm not sure he can. I'm not really sure that he can. He's got great arm talent, but in terms of understanding and playing the position, I didn't see it much at all. And he had 12 games to do it.
Well, and look, they picked up a transfer quarterback in Max Brosmer from New Hampshire, so I assume he's going to be the starter. And he's rated, let's see, I'm trying to find, he's in the top 25 or so quarterbacks there based on the On3 ranking. So that's a nice pickup for them because it's not like they were going to be in the Dylan Gabriel business or something like that.
No.
But yeah, then it was like I kind of was surprised. Like you see both of them, right there in the portal then. But yeah, it again you would like talked him up at the beginning of the year, and that was kind of what they said. But it's also the nature of the thing now. You can't get it. You can't really name the puppy because you don't want to get attached.
No, and it's a really good way to put it. And this team, no matter who they got at quarterback in the transfer portal, the fact that Darius Taylor, their star freshman running back, the fact that he stayed at Minnesota just indicates to me that they will continue to be a run first team, and that's the way PJ likes to play his football. He likes to run. He wants to be more conservative in the pass game. You don't really see a lot of action from the wide receivers, so. They unless they got Uyagalele or somebody like that, which that was never going to happen. Well, I never really believed that no matter who's going to play quarterback, that they weren't going to be a run first team to begin with.
Yeah, and look, he's made a great life decision. So,
yeah, yes, I'm aware. I see that
he's made an excellent life decision.
Correct.
But yeah, it is weird. We talked about this yesterday, and I'm always curious because you are very direct. So Kyle McCord is at Syracuse, right? We talked about that when it happened, and we were kind of surprised. So now it appears that they're the leaders in the clubhouse for Will Howard from Kansas State, who I think is better than Kyle McCord, but not that much better to where, Kyle McCord leaving makes a whole lot of sense to me. Right. Is Will Howard the dude who can come in and beat Michigan? Is he the one who can lead them to playoff wins? I'm not sure. It's weird. And you're up there in Big Ten country. Just your thoughts on the possibility of Will Howard being next year's Ohio State starting quarterback as they get a bridge year so that guys like Aaron Noland and some of the younger guys they have in there can get better and used to being college quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think this, when you talk about shock and stuff, that I think that shocked me more than anything else, because it's not like, I remember at the beginning of the year when there was a real quarterback battle for that starting job at Ohio State. And then when Kyle McCord was announced the starter, everybody was kind of like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And I thought he played pretty well all season long. There at no point, obviously Ohio State is loaded with talent all across the field, but I don't know about you, Paul, but at no point throughout Ohio State's season did I think to myself, boy, if they only had, so-and-so quarterback, or man, the quarterback is really holding them back this year. I never felt that way with Kyle McCord as their starter. And yeah, they lost a tough game to Michigan, and I don't think there's any shame in that. So when I saw that he was saying, hey, see you later, to Ohio State, I was like, wait a minute, wait, what? But as far as Howard goes, I agree with you. How is it an upgrade? Maybe slightly, but is it enough to put you over the top? Is it that big of an upgrade over Kyle McCord that'll put you over the top in the Big Ten? Hard for me to say it. Hard for me to say yes. That's for sure.
All right, let me throw this question out to you while we're on the Big Ten. If Jim Harbaugh takes the Chargers job, and then Sharon Moore takes over.
Okay.
Does Ohio State leapfrog them back to the top of the Big Ten?
Yes. Yes, I think so. Yes.
So
I do think so. Yes.
So Ryan Day was the best thing to happen to Michigan, not necessarily Jim Harbaugh.
God, hey, yes, well played.
Yeah,
well played indeed.
So because Ryan Day is, 11 straight games out of the year, one of the best coaches in the country, and then against Michigan, it's his first day on the job. So it doesn't make any sense. And look, I'm not putting any weight on bowl games, more or less, at least on the surface anymore. Like sometimes you have to dig deep in bowl games to find out like what's good and what's bad, as opposed to Ohio State's going to suck next year because they didn't play well. They didn't have their quarterback. He left. They pushed it they knew this was probably a possibility. It's the same thing. I get mad when people in our chat are saying well, Florida State didn't show up in the bowl game. I'm like, yes, in a glorious way. 30 of them didn't even go.
Sticking it to the man. Sticking it to the man. Yeah.
So it's not the same team that you would have had if this was a playoff game. And sometimes it's made to look worse by Georgia could have done the same thing and didn't. So then you're like, well,
Right. Yeah. I know people want to listen. It's a narrative that's created in reality that people want to get on Ryan Day for, you can't beat Michigan. You can't. Let's not forget, for a while there, Jim Harbaugh couldn't beat Ohio State.
Yes.
Let's not forget that. There was was it 5 years in a row, 4 or 5 years in a row?
Oh yeah,
where Jim Harbaugh couldn't beat Ohio State,
and then most of them weren't even close games either.
Right?
They weren't games where Michigan was really competitive. And then 3 years ago, he flipped the script and mauled them. Twice in a row. Now this year's game was a lot more competitive, but 2 years in a row he mauls Ohio State. And he's in the playoff and all these other things.
Right. So
he built the program back to where it was going to be. But I don't know, and I think Sharon Moore did a good job, and I think he's going to be a fine college head football coach. And that's just to say that I would think he would be the guy, given what happened there this year. But if Jim Harbaugh goes and I do think the Chargers are the team that would be most in play for him. Because it appears that Matt Eberflus is going back to the Bears because he's coached just well enough to where you're like, I don't know if we can get rid of him.
Oddly enough, that Bears-Packers game on Sunday, I'm paying a little extra closer attention to it because I think this could be a weird situation where if the Bears win and they win 5 of their last 6 to end the season or whatever it is, and they end the season on a positive note. He's probably going to be the coach next year. If they lose to Green Bay, does that open the door and give them an excuse to fire him to go get Jim Harbaugh? That is another team that I think maybe would be in play for him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if I'm Jim Harbaugh, and I know I'm going to have the first pick in the draft, the Bears are certainly attractive. Or I could go to a team with the 6th pick in the draft that already has a really good established quarterback who's been mismanaged and take care of that. I don't know. Those are the two that make the most sense to me for him, are Bears and Chargers.
If you're the Chargers, who do you want more? You want Jim Harbaugh or you want Bill Belichick?
I want Jim Harbaugh.
Okay.
I want Jim Harbaugh.
Okay.
I want Jim Harbaugh. I don't think that the Spanos family could deal with Belichick.
I think
because he wants too much control. And they'll say it's not about that, but I think they want to separate their coach and GM. Although Harbaugh and Belichick personality wise they're different kinds of the same animal, right? Different, they're both frogs. They're just different kind of frogs, right?
Fair.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think that would be more, and I'm sure Bill Belichick is going to go try coach somewhere to prove that, but part of that with that is, sometimes the relationships change. And I think that's what's kind of happening with Michigan and Harbaugh too, is that eventually relationships change, and the relationship with Michigan and Harbaugh could last forever if he wants it to, but he's always going to, have his itch to go to the NFL. So especially if they win, there's nothing else he can do. He built the program back. They won the national title. Now he can go to try to win a Super Bowl. So that's why and plus with the NCAA stuff that's coming, that's not just Connor Stallions. It's the COVID thing. It's all these other things that are coming at him. To me, what's the best way to escape consequences? Go take another job.
I think I'm having a hard time trying to reason with myself, thinking why this won't be the last game Jim Harbaugh coaches at Michigan. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me for him to continue on given the circumstances. And you mentioned the frosty relationship with the AD, and I just don't see it happening. He's obviously left the door open. I believe he hired an agent, if I'm not mistaken, that's a prominent agent that only deals with that deals with it. So he's absolutely all the indications. Remember, he almost became the Vikings coach a couple of years ago. So
he'd have been your problem then.
Right, exactly. No doubt about it. So he definitely wants to go back to the NFL, and I think the national championship game is the last time you see him coach in Michigan.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that's going to be again, if he comes back, I would just be shocked because of everything that's coming down the pike for him when it comes to, he's going to get, I know this, he's going to get suspended again. Like, that's going to happen.
Right.
Whether it's for Connor Stallions or not, or I do think that if he leaves, then the NCAA will then slow play everything else. Like that they're not going to, but if Jim Harbaugh's back defiantly coaching Michigan next year, then the NCAA is going to have to do something. And now look, are they scary anymore? No, but he will get suspended because they tried to suspend him already. And he appealed it. So he's going to get suspended again. And I know the NFL threw it out oh, well, we might suspend him too if he came back in here because we care about that kind of thing. Yeah. we are nothing if not holding a high standard.
The honorable shield that is the NFL.
Yes. One of our billionaire owners just threw a drink at a guy in Jacksonville.
Yeah, right. Good God. Yeah. What a situation that was.
About a year in Jacksonville, Florida. You think this guy had a drink thrown on him before?
Yeah. What a great point.
Yeah.
Great point.
You and I were in Jacksonville together.
We were. Yes. God, that was that the
Georgia State.
Was that the
Baylor versus
Georgia
game? State? Yeah.
I will never forget sitting courtside for that game and watching that ball go up as if it was slow motion. That's the one and probably the only time in my life where I can remember thinking this is happening all in slow motion in front of my very eyes.
Yeah. So absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah, that was. But yeah, we hung out in Jacksonville. I mean, we went to the only place we could figure to go because it was a weird time when we got done. The only thing that was open on the day was Hooters.
Correct.
Yes, we went to the Garrett, Pierre and I, and
Tim. I believe Tim O'Donnell.
Yeah, Tim O'Donnell. We went to the Jacksonville Hooters.
Ballin'.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And it is exactly what you think.
Correct.
It was
rough. I'm not gonna lie.
It was exactly. It was in the nicer part of the downtown area, but it was what you like. It was. Honestly, I'm sure if we had asked people, the locals, we're like, "Oh, this is the date night Hooters,
fine dining. Fine dining.
This is where we go. It's this is our anniversary, so that's why I brought my wife to the nice Hooters and not the one that's next to us."
That was my first time ever in Jacksonville, and I remember walking around thinking, God, the weather is just gorgeous. When we were there in mid-March, it was perfect. And then I looked around and was just like, there's not a lot going on in this town. It's not really. I look around, it's is this it? There's not really a lot going on in the fine city of Jacksonville.
No, there's not. There's not. That we stayed downtown. It smells like coffee because Maxwell House is there.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's what it was. Yeah. And at many points, I'm sure we turned over to each other. I probably turned over to you and I said, how did this city get an NFL franchise?
I know. And many times I've often thought it
how?
Congratulations to the first owner of the team, Wayne Weaver, in convincing the NFL that this is the next wave. It's not Orlando, which is only an hour and a half away from another team, so they wouldn't have really done that. It's not there, a city that's constantly growing. It's Jacksonville. Right here. Well, between Atlanta and Tampa, kind of. So, there'll be
no disrespect, Jacksonville, by the way. Keep on doing you.
Oh, I grew up down in Florida, so I can disrespect it. No,
Right? Yeah,
no,
that I knew. That I knew.
No, yeah, but no, I like, yeah, it was. That was another weird. That was a weird trip. Plus, we had to scramble and leave earlier than we all thought we were, and
I was very upset about that. I was not ready to go home.
No, I'm just like
Very upset about that.
all right, well, I guess we're leaving tomorrow.
Yep. Yep.
All right, that's one of the things where you sit. This is, and this we'll kind of end the show on this topic or this discussion because it's neither here nor there about anything. But one of the weird things about covering the NCAA tournament or covering a team where you're following along and they get eliminated is, there's all these like between times where everybody from the local market is huddled together, going, "All right, you see, there's a Southwest flight tomorrow. Do you guys want to just all get on that one? We can share a ride over there. Like, let's.
Correct.
Oh, did you get on it? You get okay. Good. We got a boarding group. Awesome. That was not a full flight, but yeah,
I believe it was it might have been the same year or it might have been the year prior when we also have the situation where we're also
Rhode Island. In Providence.
Yeah, well, there was that. I was thinking more of the Baylor women the year after they won the national title, and we were in where were we for the Sweet 16? Oklahoma City.
We're in Oklahoma City, and they lost
they lost to Louisville. We were already making play. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I've never been to New Orleans. This is what I'm going to do when we get to New Orleans for the Final Four. We're making all plans for the Final Four, and then that game happened, and we were just like, no, we're not going.
We drove back. Me and Smokey and Craig and Jay Hicks, who was at Channel 10 at the time.
Yep.
We drove back in the middle of the night because we were like, well, let's just go home.
Yeah. You might as well.
Yeah. So, I say it's in the middle of the, it's like a 4-hour drive back, and the game ended at we got done at 9. We're like, we'll be home at 1 a.m. Like, might as well just go now. And so that's what we did.
Pretty sure I left the next day, but that was, boy, that game, I will never forget that game and the way it ended. Boy,
yeah.
Oh, boy.
That was, yeah, but that's a weird thing of I know it's a little inside baseball about the media, but you have these things where you're covering a team and then you've got to scramble because you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to be here. I gotta go.
Oh.
Where's Nick in Providence?
I was not. No, that was not me. I did
Nick,
not make. Yeah. But what I do remember is 2014. This still to this day, I probably told the story a million times, but this is still probably the most fun stretch of my career. When Baylor men's basketball started, I think they were 2-9. They started 2-9 in conference or something like that. Catch fire, win 8 in a row or 9-10 or 8-9 or whatever it was. Springboard all the way to the Big 12 tournament title game against Iowa State, where they were up the entire game until the last 6 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
And then we go from Kansas City to San Antonio to Anaheim in a span of 10 days. And I was just having an absolute blast. That was the time of my life doing that stretch.
Oh yeah. We had a blast in San Antonio.
We had a blast.
We had a blast in San Antonio. Anaheim, we were only there for a day. That was another one that we were only there for a day.
Right.
Yeah.
That was tough, but we kind of had a feeling because I don't think they had any chance of beating that Wisconsin team with Frank Kaminsky. So
no, Frank Tank. It was a mismatch, but yeah, it was crazy because because we were in Kansas City, San Antonio, Scott Drew. I'll tell you, this is a nice guy Scott Drew thing. He was like, hey, you guys, here's the deal. You don't have to drive back tonight. Just take all the hotel rooms that we have.
Wow. Yeah. How about that?
He was like, yeah. And I was I'd already unpacked or packed up and was leaving. I was like, man, I was driving back and I was like, man, I should have taken him up on that. I'm tired. Yeah. But yeah, he was like, look, we had to book the hotel for tonight because the game tipped off at 8:00 or 7:50 or whatever it was. And so we had to have the hotel all day. So the room's already paid for, but we've got a plane that's going to take us back, tonight or a bus.
I didn't take him up on that.
Yeah, I can't he was like, you guys want that? He asked it was a group of media and we're like, oh no, we're all going back. And I was like, man, I could have really
could have really used that nice bed.
Yeah, really nice
there. Yeah.
Gone back the next morning. But no. No, I did drive back on that toll road that you can drive 80 on. I felt like Batman the whole night. Because there's nobody on it in the middle of the night.
Yes. I wish we would have that here. Trust me, God, do I wish we had that here.
I don't think you can because it's going to freeze over and somebody's not going to get the memo.
You can't. No, you can't. You drive that fast on an icy road, you're cooked. Yeah. You're asking for trouble.
Yeah. I mean, you're a thrill seeker or a death wish, one of those things. Yeah,
so that's right. Yeah. You're the equivalent of Mike McDaniel leaving starters on the field when you're down 30. Like you're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
You're asking for trouble.
Absolutely. All right, Pierre, been great seeing you. We'll see you again next week, right? Don't have any trips?
I will be available next week. Yes,
Okay.
yes, I will.
We're going to start transitioning, maybe do a little more basketball stuff too, because it's basketball season. So I know, like you and I just talked about, we've covered a lot of basketball together. A lot of basketball in different parts of the country. I had to leave Jacksonville on a day's notice, and that's not an easy city to get out of. I'll tell you what's a harder city to get out of is Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, I believe that. That was the year after I left, I want to say.
Yeah. I had to connect in Baltimore and Atlanta to get back to Texas that day. That was
two connections
to get back. You know, because I gave our owner the option of like, listen, I can stay, but there's a winter storm coming, so I might be staying all week because I don't know. And it was Monday morning, the storm hit and like everything was delayed. It wasn't that bad, but like I would have been there until like Tuesday or Wednesday if I couldn't have gotten out, because then I'm at the mercy of the airlines putting me on a flight, right? And so he's like, well, no, I'd rather not that happen. And one of the few times I actually agreed with him, he's like, go ahead and get on a flight and pay the difference. And I was like, okay. And so I had flown not a foreign airline, but an American one. And they were trying to charge me $3,000 to change my ticket. And then I had to go get another. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. There's no way I could even, like telling the guy that $3,000 is an actual amount of money that existed he had to pay to a human being would have been bad anyway. And so I had to get on a different airline, but the only way I could get back to Dallas was to frickin', Home Alone it.
God, what a nightmare!
Yeah, it was.
Nightmare.
I did get some nice crab cakes in Baltimore, though. So
that makes it all worth it now, doesn't it?
And my connection in Atlanta was like 20 minutes, so it wasn't that bad. But
God, I hate that airport. That airport is just a nightmare.
Yeah, I slept in it in 2000.
Did you?
Yes.
I know it's such a huge airport, and it never ceases to amaze me how the Atlanta airport just constantly seems to have your connection be on where you arrive, where the gate is over here, and your connecting gate that you have to get to might as well be in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
And you've got about 25 minutes to make it.
Yeah.
So it never ceases to amaze me how they somehow manage to just put the stress level on you.
Yeah. When I was in college, leaving out of Tallahassee, every flight goes through Atlanta. So I was flying back here for Christmas, and it was the day after Al Gore conceded the election. So all of the people from CNN and MSNBC and all the news people booked up all the flights for the next few days. And so my flight got delayed because of a really bad rainstorm. And they said, look, we really can't put you on another flight because they're booked out till Wednesday. So we're just going to keep you here until like 10:30 p.m. or 11, and then you're going to fly to Atlanta, and then you'll stay in a hotel, and you can fly out from Atlanta tomorrow because there's a billion flights out of Atlanta. So it's okay, but when I got to Atlanta, my hotel was like an hour away, and my flight was like 5 hours. I was like, well, it's only going to be 4 hours. And then that flight got delayed too, But I slept in the Atlanta airport, the only place I could, and I got to hear "Welcome to Atlanta" in 10 languages all night long, every 40 minutes.
Good, very good.
Welcome to Atlanta. Bienvenue Atlanta.
Just wow. When I think of international American city, Atlanta's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the trying to figure out which one was Mandarin and which one was Cantonese was the game I played.
Did you eventually catch on? Did you eventually get it? No.
I did. But when you're sleeping on a bench in an airport, your mind goes different places.
Well, amen to that. We've all been there.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
All right, Pierre, have a good one. We're on the show today. We've got Cedric Golden talking about Texas. We've got
Scott Drew
today. I should have led with that. Scott Drew will be on the show today. Jason Shearer will be on the show today. Off the radars today. So we are loaded up on the show this afternoon. Pierre, have a good one, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown.